Alright, welcome back to another episode of Stitch Method. This one I'm very excited about because if you have seen Stitch Method before, I throw a lot of concepts out there and they're all over the neck, and I realize, let's try and take some of the greatness out there that's in music and try and simplify it and put it in one location for everyone to practice so you can get the concepts of what's working. And I chose the song that I think is one of the best acoustic performances of all time, which is Layla Unplugged, which I'm sure all of you heard of, well, because you clicked on the video, but Layla Unplugged, the performance of that is just absolutely brilliant. I think Eric Clapton just absolutely shined during the whole thing, from the recomposition of the original to the acoustics, the slowing down, the ultimate swagger this thing has. And when you listen to the solos that happen, there's one in the beginning and there's one in the middle. There's a lot of range on it, There's a lot of range on it through, down here and up here. And, if you're not comfortable with soloing all over the fretboard like Eric Clapton is, you still might want to be able to play Layla, which is a simple song to kind of play, but also rip a really good solo. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to steal from Eric Clapton's performance. We're going to look at all the concepts, and we're going to put them into the Form Pentatonic on the 10th fret. Now, before we really begin, let's just talk about what's happening during the solo. During the solo, the chord progression is D minor to B flat major to C, back to D minor. If I can actually get my fingers on the camera, right? D minor, boom, B flat, ba, ba, C, and then D minor, over and over and over again. And so what we're going to use, what Clapton uses, is a D minor pentatonic. He starts off with a Form 4 down here, but we're not going to do that. We're going to stay with a Form 1. Well, why do we want to pick a Form 1? Number one, it's the form that all of us know or should know. It's the most comfortable. It's where 98% of all the guitar solos are in music, in the rock world or blues world. And I'm going to show you something really quickly. If you listen to the range on a Form 1 pentatonic. Alright, and those are the frets 10, 13, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, 10, 13, 10, 13. I can get all the way back here to a Form 4. And pretty much get the same range between here and here. Those are the same notes. And then this. And so this Form 1 pentatonic actually covers a huge span of the guitar, but it's compact. And we know it. And so let's explore what Clapton does. And so first and foremost, I have a loop going here, if I can actually get my phone looper. And the first thing that you want to practice is playing this pentatonic with confidence. Just knowing it's going to be great. It's going to be perfect. And the first thing that you're going to notice when you listen to it is that his lines come home a lot to the root note, to the D. So here is a D here, on the 10th fret of the E. D is on the 12th fret of the D string, and the 10th fret of the high E. Listen to what it sounds like when I play some lines, but I always come home to a root note. It works really well. If you find this intriguing and you haven't seen it, I have a video on my channel called How to Actually Use a Pentatonic for Blues Soloing, and that's it right there. And when you listen to Eric Clapton's lines on this performance, you will hear it, and also you'll start to understand how to do it yourself in a Form 1 simply. The next thing that you're going to hear him do is he starts to, he has a line like, and right there, that's a blue note. This is the blue note that's in all of blues music in the pentatonic. It's known as the flat 5. And so one thing you want to do now is you want to start putting in the blue note in your soloing. So I'm going to do the same thing. We're layering this cupcake of Clapton. And I'm playing the pentatonic first. I'm always going to come home. That's, how to actually use the pentatonic. Always come home. And then I'm going to start putting in some blue notes. And again, this is all about you doing your own solo. We're stealing the concepts, and you just want to be able to bring these concepts to life through your performance in one simple box and get it all in there, and people will be blown away, trust me. So here is first the Form 1 pentatonic, and then I'm going to put in some blue notes. I should show you where they are. there's blue note. And there's another blue note on the 13th fret of the G and the 11th fret of the A. So, same thing. Here we go. Got to get a new looper. This one has an electrical contact issue. Here we go. Simple concept, pentatonic. A always sounds good. B, bring it home to the root note. You'll hear Clapton do it all the time. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. And number 2, the blues scale with the flat 5. Just get that flat 5 in there colorfully, but make sure we always head home. One of the reasons that the coming home on the one to the root note always works in this song is because the chord progression is always coming back to that D. You know, it's D, bum, B flat, bum, 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 home, da, da, home again. So if you can be aware of that chord progression and know when that D is coming and hear it, hit the D on the D, everything is delicious. So sorry. All right, here we go. So that's the first concepts. One thing you're also going to hear him do, again, this in the very beginning, you have this. This is no more than just a piece of a D chord, a D minor chord that he's doing up here, 5th fret, A minor shaped bar chord. Okay, 5, 6, 7. You hear him breaking up into these double stops. I should raise my hand so you can see the guitar. My hand. Oh. Alright, so what's happening there? Well, it's a piece of D minor chord. Alright, so we're right here on the 10th fret. And then the 7th fret here, which is a root note. And this is a piece, if you look at it, if you played a D minor chord right here, which would be 10, 12, 12, 10, 10, 10, like that, you can see it's actually just a piece of the D minor chord right here. I like to play mine, you know, like 12th fret on the D, and then barring my first finger over. So all these notes are great notes to double stop on because they're part of the chord. Now, if this is all making sense, by the way, and if it's going fast, do check out my Blues Primer playlist because all of these ideas are in there, and plus my Blues Masterclass it explains everything, I promise. Anyway, back to the show. So we have this D minor chord. And so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to layer it. I'm going to do pentatonic, I'm going to do the blues notes, and now I'm going to start putting in, I'm always going to come home to the 1 when the D minor chord is being played, and I'm also going to start in this Form 1, finding my D minor chord, and playing some double stops from it. Let's see if we can do this. Sounding good. We are stealing the ideas from Clapton. This is what's happening. We're putting them into a Form 1 so you can do it on your own and blow people away. The next thing we have, I've written everything down. Next thing we have is a great move that you have to put into your playing. Now, this is the one exception, which is you hear him do this great triplet, sliding from the 13th fret and 12th fret up into 14, 13. Now, this discussion that I'm doing right here is in my In the Mind of Eric Clapton video. You know, this is a D minor blues, and he loves usually playing this D7 chord. But there's a problem, just to explain this, which is he's not playing a D7 chord, he's playing a D minor. And so what he does here is he plays this note and this note, which are part of, we'll say, a D minor 7th chord. The most important piece of this puzzle is that he's not playing the major third. He's not playing this. That's more the blues. This is a bluesy swagger song. I'm not going to consider it a full-on blues song. It has a blues element of the drive, but it definitely starts on the D minor. So he comes in on this Clapton fashion. He can't control it because this is what he loves doing. You can see it in that video I mentioned about In the Mind of Clapton, right? So he just takes the 14th fret and he takes the 14th fret of the A, 13th fret of the B, and he does these little triplets. So this is a piece of a D minor 7th chord, but what pieces are they? They are the 5 and the flat 7. Now we're talking. So where can we find those guys in here? Well, we have 1, flat 3, 4, 5. That's cool. Flat 7. And this guy works here. Even though it's low, it's It's the same thing. These are the two places, here and here. You can get the double stops in. Now, I know I said Form 1 pentatonic, but this guy takes you out of it. I'll let you do it, but if you want to be true to the mission, you can get this double stop in there. So now, pentatonics, blue notes, seventh minor arpeggios, and then this type of double stop of the 5 and the flat 7. Let's see how it sounds, shall we? Do it when you want to do it. Get all the concepts down and do it. Next thing I want to mention, again, this is in my Blues Primer playlist, and Clapton does this all the time. Actually, Clapton's probably like the one guitar player who does this like all the time, which is really using that interval of the 5 to bring some tension and movement into his playing. He uses it in two ways. Number one is, instead of ending on the root note sometimes, he sometimes ends on the 5. And you'll hear it in the Unplugged solo. Now, I'm not going to play that solo note for note because this is about creating your own by stealing. And so what we're going to do is, let's locate that 5. Well, the 5 is right here on the 10th fret of the B string, and also on the 12th fret of the A string. I'm going to stick to this one, and you're going to hear that he likes to sometimes end his lines there. So let me just do that really quickly. He'll either play the root note on the end or hit this. Keep in mind, the 5 is a tension note. It's also in the chord being played, and so if you can see that chord, you can kind of spot it. Also, if you know your intervals, I'll stop talking. Any which way you want to navigate is fine. So you heard it. Another way he does it is, you'll hear it in the Unplugged version, he kind of really sits and does something like that. And we'll talk about that note in a little bit. But he also will just kind of like punch it a little bit. And this is what it sounds like when you kind of punch it as your solo instead of ending on it. Like it, you throw it in. Again, notice how I brought the 5 back home to the 1. If you want to watch that video, I talk about how the 5 has a lot of tension. It wants to go home to the 1. All right, a couple more things to do before we design our ultimate Layla Unplugged guitar solo by stealing from a great guitar player. All right, so now one thing he does, and he does this a lot in the intro, and he does this a lot on the ending solo, which is the use of motifs. Now, motifs on guitar are just patterns, repeatable patterns that we play, and what they do is they help build momentum towards something. So what you can do is you can come up with your own motif, just a pattern that repeats. The one I'm going to use here is bo, 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 like 3 notes forward, and then start on the second note I started on and do the same pattern. So 3 frets forward, then start here, 1, 2, 3, and then start on the second note, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and just any pattern you can think of, but he uses it a lot in his playing and it helps move. So listen for that type of pattern. If I go backwards, okay, and I don't want to go too fast over this. So again, I'm just picking 3 notes, triple it, and it's the second note of the phrase I start again on, triple it, triple it, triple it, triple it. This takes some time to get used to if you haven't done these before, but they're worth looking into. And I should have mentioned, yeah, they're definitely triplets. So there you go. Here we go. Backwards. And when you get to a root note, you stop. That was a little different type of motif where I just kind of sat and built tension. Motifs, huge. So now, this is supposed to be a nice short video. Don't think that's going to happen. We have a lot to cover. We're kind of, working through this. I'll have a chart for you of like these things and also what's about to follow. one thing you'll notice in this solo is it comes out for people watching this who are familiar, really familiar with guitar playing. You kind of really hear that pentatonic bite, right? That you hear the something to that extent, and you're like, okay, there's Clapton with his minor pentatonic. But then we get this really cool thing, right? This there it is. And we're like, whoa, what was that? Such full color. And when we look at it on paper or on the computer, it looks very diatonic, very filled with notes from the D minor scale. And it kind of is, but we're going to steal the mentality of this. We have a D minor progression. We're using a D minor scale in this sense, and it works well. And so first I'm going to show you, again, all in the Form 1, where the D minor scale is. But we got to learn how to use it right. So the D minor scale, Form 1, is going to be 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 10, 11, 13, 10, 12, 13. For anyone who's playing, an instrument that's not a guitar, or if you want to know notes, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, and D, all the way through. Just link it through. All right, so now, you're going to notice that he does something that is so well timed out, and to us it sounds like a brilliant melody, but to the musician, and you want to understand what's happening, you got to make sure you know those chords, like D minor, bump, B flat, C, and then D minor. And the D minor, bump, B flat, ba, ba, C, and then D minor. All right, so what does he do here? Well, he comes out. I'm taking it out of Form 1 for a second, but you get this line. And when he hits that, it's like, oh, it's so good. So what's happening here? Well, on the D minor, right before he leaves the D minor, he hits this note, which is an F, and this F belongs, if you look here, here's a little D minor chord. Okay, there it is right there. Boom. That's a D minor chord. And so he hits this and gets down to this note here, all right, which is right here, which is a D. And when you look at what's happening, you have this D minor, and if you look at this B flat chord, barred, that D note is in the B flat. Okay, it's right there. So he sees the D minor note, hits the B flat note, okay, which is the major third of this chord, and then to this guy, 12th fret. That's not in the pentatonic. And we're going, what is that? It's an E. Well, why is he hitting an E? Well, if you play a little D-shaped chord right here, 12th fret G, 13th fret B, and 12th fret of the E string, it's in the C chord. So if you listen, like, and so on that C chord, he hits an E because it's part of the chord tone, not part of the pentatonic. But because it's not part of the pentatonic, when he hits it, our ears just light up, and we love it. So how do we do this in the Form 1? Let's take it very slowly. So on the D, any note of a D, the D pentatonic, or again, like I showed you, that D chord. Also, this note here is the minor third of the chord, and so that's what you want. You can use it. It's in the Form 1. It's what he does. He goes, or there it is there. And then we get to this guy here. This is the E of the C chord. You want to picture it. All right, it's right behind that minor third. So now what I'm going to do is when he hits the D, very quickly, I'm going to hit some D chord tones. When he goes to the B flat, I'm going to hit some B flat chord tones. Now be warned, if this is a C, I'm just going to show you, in the Form 1, bam, 2 frets down. That's a B flat. His two notes of choice really are going to be the D, which is, there's that major third, okay? The root note, not really this guy here, because it's the fifth, it's a harmony, it doesn't really punch as much, so one of these two notes. And so it goes by quick, but let's see if we can capture that melody. On the D, going to hit some D chord tones, B flat, and then to the C. And I'm going to try and stay in the pentatonic and hit one note from this chord and give it a little spice. Let's see. D, B flat, C, here we go. D, B flat, C. That's to show you this guy here. 9th fret of the G, and 12th fret. These are both the same note. And so again, I'll have a chart of where this is. There it is. Oh, such a long video. But now I'll do it again. D. Okay, for the D minor, B flat, C, D minor. D minor. As a matter of fact, if I play just that, you should hear like it would sound pretty good. Let's see. Oh, really? Doing so good. Enough stealing. Sorry, Mr. Clapton. We're digging through your brain, your fingertips, and we found a lot, so we're going to take it. All right, so there's all of the stuff that I could witness from the Layla guitar solo. I'm sure there's more, but, you know, it's already a 20-minute video or so. If you like this stuff, please subscribe. I do have a brand new podcast coming out where it's the audio version. I'm not going to rip the audio from this, but I'm going to talk about it, just talk about my guitar. So if you're driving or if you're doing something where you can't have a guitar in hand and you want to visualize what's happening, and visualization is the most important piece of playing any instrument, I can kind of talk you through what's happening. So this will be the first episode of it. I probably have to go back through all my 100 or so videos and do podcasts for those. But I hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe. Check out the Blues Primer playlist, the Blues Masterclass. What else on YouTube are you supposed to say? Anyway, all right, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Take care. Bye-bye.